Okay, well, we are here. Sorry we're a few minutes late. That was some strange times. I do not know what's going on, but I literally had to reboot everything again. I don't know what's going on, Casey. I don't like us. But we're here. Hopefully now everything will be okay. Hopefully the stream is running okay. It seems like we're up on everything. So fingers crossed. We'll stay up on everything. But that's just what comes with it when you're talking about things maybe that have got you into a little bit of trouble. And today's probably not going to be anything different because we're going to talk about accountability and the prison and with your kids, and they're going to love us again today. So say hey, Casey.
Hey everybody. Good to be here again.
Yeah, we're going to go over some stuff today that is another one of these topics that for some reason it doesn't seem like they want you to go over. Maybe I don't know. I've been talking a lot about South Africa too, and so it is what it is. Listen, it is what it is. We'll be going over it. Hello from Southern California. Hello everyone. Blessing from England. Oh, there's El Jeffy Gremlins. No doubt, El Jeffy. Definitely Gremlins. So, all right, Casey, we got the Gremlins out of the broadcast and stuff, and hopefully people can figure out we're just a little late because of that issue. And what are we going to talk about today?
Well, what I wanted to talk about first, punishment in general, because it's something that seems to be just the whole concept of punishment seems to be construed in the world today. But what really got me thinking about it this time was whenever we were discussing in a previous show, just the amount of sexual assault that's happening now in prisons with transgender people, with transgender men going to women's prison, or people that were men. I get confused by the terminology sometimes, but basically there was an increase of sexual assaults whenever transgender people were being put into women's prison. And it got me thinking, like, well, my whole entire life, I've never been to prison, but I've associated it with sexual assault because I watched comedians growing up and they'd always talk about not dropping the soap and, people, it's a scary place to be in jail. So it was like kind of stuck out to me that was even like a thing in the news, because I'm like, well, why do we just care now? Like, why didn't we care whenever it was just like happening all the time before? But I'm not well educated on it, so I decided to kind of look into it. And
because sexual assault against men doesn't matter apparently in this world as much as it does for women. I mean, that's why there's that talking point that where the women will bring up, sexual assault and stuff, and they'll be like, "Well, guess who is the victim of most sexual assaults? It's men, if you include the prison system." But nobody seems to really give a shit about men. They're considered whiners if they complain. But it's the worst thing in the world that could happen to a woman. So it's just that double standard,
Yeah, whenever rape's just bad. Like, it's bad to rape people. It's bad to be raped, no matter who you are, what you identify as. It's just not a good thing to do.
Yeah, how about we just keep that one universal standard? It would be great, but it is what it is. It's again that it's used in society a lot where women can complain about being assaulted, say at the work site or in their office. But if a man were to complain that a woman is doing it to him, then he's laughed at. Oh, you didn't enjoy it, you don't like the attention, or whatever. I'm sure that women have made men feel uncomfortable. Okay. I have no doubt that's happened. But do you feel like they feel comfortable enough talking about it? Oh, I highly doubt it.
Yeah, it's like
stigmatized.
Yeah, it sure is. Like, I don't know, it's a rough thing to come up with. There's a lot of like just preconceived notions about how people, how they accept sex in their lives, whether it's like forcefully or unforcefully. But so whenever I was like thinking about this, I was like, well, so what even happens to people like like the question I was asking, is there a punishment for people in prison who rape other prisoners? Because in my head growing up, like I just didn't think that much about it. It's just like, well, if you go to jail, bad things are going to happen. I guess you shouldn't be surprised if like horrible things happen. But I don't know, I decided to like look a little further into it. So let me share my screen real quick. I'm going to bring up the first.
Yeah,
So
and
oh, go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say, let me minimize this really quick. Posey and Foxhole said, Posey for Hope said, dehumanize the males, take them out of the father husband role. It part of the destruction of the Western world. Oh yeah, for sure. They're watching it happen. Go ahead, hon.
Sure. So I started off this search that I know nothing about by just Googling or DuckDuckGoing what happens, what the punishment is, and I came up with this.
Don't you dare say that curse word Google in here. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Wasn't sure which one. I'm so out of the loop whenever it comes to anything on the internet.
I just heard you correct yourself from Google to DuckDuckGo.
I like being accurate when I can.
Yeah, well, and it's less heavily censored too. So, we're having all that issues now with Google, but they own YouTube. So go for it.
And so I brought this up. I found on this ACLU.org website, I'm experiencing discrimination or abuse in prison because I'm transgender. That already like stuck up flags with me because it's like discrimination or abuse is bad, like no matter what. But your rights are, if you notify a prison official that you are transgender and or have been threatened, officials are legally required to act to protect you. When you enter prison, inform your staff you are transgender or believe you are at risk, both verbally and in writing. But everybody is required to be protected while in jail due to the Constitution, like cruel and unusual punishment. You can't you can have the punishment that was assigned to them, but that doesn't mean you just let people get raped all day. And on this, I guess I should bring up first, I discovered PREA law whenever I was Googling this, which is, or DuckDuckGoing,
and I'm going to just add real quick because I feel like I have to. And you are correct. You still have like Miranda rights and stuff when you go into prison, except apparently if you're arrested on anything associated with the 6th of January, and then your rights can be shit all over. So sorry, that's been a crawl in my butt these last couple of days about how those people will be treated right now. So, but yeah, go ahead to prison.
Oh, that's something I need more education on too.
It's bad. Some lawyers, some conservative lawyers out there should be stepping up and doing something about what's happening right now with that situation. They've been in jail for 6 months. Some of them are charged with misdemeanor crimes. None of them have records. And yet they're being withheld from the evidence that they're supposed to produce so they can fight their cases. They're being threatened and behind the walls that if they reach out and say anything, it's bad. The abuse that's going on to the people that have been rounded up for the 6 is horrifying. And I think as a movement, if we can't do anything in these last 3 years, we should be raising hell about what's going on in that damn jail. But I've got an article I actually pulled up, for the other day. But yeah, you go ahead. I want you to get into this. It just made me feel like I needed to say something for those people because they are really being abused in jail right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially if everything that I've just been researching is true, because like most of the sexual assault happens like right whenever you get into the prison. And from what I've been reading, there really is no protection for somebody who just like is in jail for showing up to a protest or showing up to practice their free speech. They get thrown in this place where there's no punishment for them getting sexually assaulted by the people who are all pent up in there and have been known to already sexually assault people. Like those are very different types of people all just crammed in together. That's bananas. But so the Prison Rape Elimination Act I had never heard of until I started researching this. And this was enacted in 2003, I believe it was. But so I pulled up a couple different things on it. So I'm going to bounce back and forth. There's a lot of pages that I went through. But right here this is kind of a breakdown of the PREA law. But it says the high incidence of sexual assault within prisons involves actual and potential violations of the United States Constitution. In Farmer versus Brennan, 511 U.S. 825, 1994, the Supreme Court ruled that the deliberate indifference to the substantial risk of sexual assault violates prisoners' rights under the Cruel and Unusual Punishments Clause of the Eighth Amendment. The Eighth Amendment rights of state and local prisoners are protected through the Due Process Clause. Through the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. Pursuant to the power of Congress under Section 5 of the 14th Amendment, Congress may take action to enforce those rights in states where officials have demonstrated such action to enforce. Oh, sorry. I've been spending all day with dogs. My brain's a little wired. I'm a little wound up. Pursuant to the power of Congress under Section 5 of the 14th Amendment, Congress may take action to enforce those rights in states where officials have demonstrated such indifference. States that do not take basic steps to abate prison rape by adopting standards that do not generate significant additional expenditures demonstrate such indifference. Therefore, such states are not entitled to the same level of federal benefits as other states. And out of that, what stands out for me from a punishment perspective, what this is saying is that it's their responsibility to uphold this part of the Constitution, but that last sentence there, therefore, such states are not entitled to the same level of federal benefits as other states. That's not really a punishment for, like, that's a financial hit, yes, but that's not going to save anybody. Like, if the only punishment for allowing the prisoners in your jail to just rape each other all day is that you just don't get as much money as you would have if they weren't doing that as much, that's not really saving anyone unless they really feel like it. That's not a punishment. It's like deterrent.
Mm-hmm. Well, you start talking about messing with their money, and then you get people's attention.
Yeah, you are right that it gets their attention. It's just amazing. Now, there's a couple things I brought up in here, and I can't go through it all just because it's so many pages. But what I got out of this, and maybe I can share the links in case anybody does want to research further than what I know. But you can opt out, like, if you're running a jail through this PREA Act, you can just choose to not do it formally. And it's basically just signing a paper saying, like, no, thanks, we don't want that money. And there were different levels to it where if you have a committee, if you're using all this grant money to pay a bunch of people to sit around and create posters to hang up in prisons that say, hey, rape is bad, guys, please don't do it. If you do that, you get a lot of grant money.
And that sounds about as ridiculous as I heard it coming out of your mouth. And people are putting up posters in prison that rape is bad. I mean, it's the same poster that you would put out, like, don't beat your wife. Like, people know this. You know what I mean? The poster's not going to stop them.
Yeah. You don't need a whole committee of people saying not to shake your baby.
Oh my God, Bubba, I had no idea we was wrong for raping little Timmy in cell block C. That poster just changed it all for me.
Yep, but now that these criminals know that rape is wrong, they're going to really...
They're only in prison because they love following the law.
Yeah. It's like ridiculous because I was searching through this whole thing. And like I said, it's a lot of pages and my brain's not entirely with me today. But whenever I was like looking through the money that they were talking about in grants, and then they were saying even, so.
Oh, my dear Casey, you lovely little innocent bird, here you go. Here's a short lesson. The government sucks at everything. That's why after looking into politics, I would consider myself conservative on most matters, libertarian on a few. not the ones that really matter, just the drug stuff. Because I think the government screws up on the drug war. But the one thing about it is that the government gives all of the American people's money away for these worthless programs that do absolutely nothing, and these systems gobble it up, and they make sure to spend it all so the next year they can get more of your money to do absolutely nothing with. Hashtag there's your government.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You want, they do it with everything. Education system, drug war, prisons. They waste all our money and then talk about how we're trillions of dollars in debt. But guess what? That government, that those prisons next year will try to get just as much, if not more money for the next year, because they don't really look at the physical situation of how much of this money do we actually need. They just, and there's some pea brain in there. It's like, no, we need the same amount of money so we can waste it away. As the half the toilets don't flush, or we have rust all over the bars. Let's not worry about fixing the prison up. Let's just worry about wasting your money on posters.
Yeah, and just saying stuff, like just making stuff up. Like they said, on this one, the Federal Prison Rape Elimination Act requires prisons and jails to make individualized housing placements for all transgender and intersex prisoners, including when assigning them to male or female facilities. And then many correctional facilities house transgender prisoners in solitary confinement to protect them from violence. But PREA says you cannot be segregated against your will for more than 30 days, and you have to have access to programs, privileges, education, and work opportunities. And it's like, if they don't even have enough manpower or just the build-up setting to keep just like the general amount of rapists from raping everybody, how many areas does every jail have for a solitary confinement room for each separate transgender person who's now coming in? I've only been inside of,
They'll turn like the medical ward sometimes into it, or they'll put whole wings under solitary confinement, whatever that means. It's just, again, it's buzzwords. Because the same people that are in there that are supposed to monitor this stuff and make sure they're following in these guidelines, right, are the same people they can slip a few $100s to that'll write whatever they want to on these reports. It stems all the way from the pharmaceutical company to damn dog food research. I mean, it's just like why it's so important, I think, for the people of this world. And I'm going to do this hopefully tomorrow. I was going to announce this later, but I'm going to say it today. Why tomorrow trying to work hard on bringing a group of people together. I'm going to talk to tomorrow at 4. This is the time set. Tomorrow at 4 Eastern. I'm going to try and bring Grant Torino from Ireland, KB from South Africa, Daddy from the UK, and then Breaking, because he knows all about the NGOs here in America, all together tomorrow at 4, because people need to start understanding this is not like an American thing. This is a world thing where all these governments are wasting their money and staging all these riots to divide people to try and then turn the chaos into, control. But like this one program, this one thing in the prison systems is the disease. It's just one person with it, but it's a disease.
Well, yeah, because a lot of these people just end up going back out into the general population. The rapists in jail and their victims, whether like those victims were already rapists themselves or not, who knows? But like these people that are now even more messed up in the head than they were going in are eventually going to go back out there. And it's like, what kind of society are we even trying to create? We're not trying. Like, just
they give actually virtually hardly no counseling. They really don't teach them a trade. They don't give them anything to stand on when they get out that they can try to improve their lives. They basically set them up in a structure where it's a eat or be eaten. Whether it's, you rob, they learn how to get drugs somehow in jail more than you can on the streets. And then we have nothing set up. It's the same thing going on with society right now. You see all these people out here with pink hair or purple tips. They're deciding to create a new gender or create a new zerzim, their verb, blah, 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 make up words so they can seem important. You know what I mean? It's like a societal thing. We shut down all these mental health facilities, and now we got a damn bunch of crazy people trying to tell us all how to live. So now we have all these people in these prison systems. Again, people are getting more time in prison for having an ounce of guys or whatever it's called. I don't know, like say a kilo of, that's probably a lot, a substantially amount of coke. And they're getting more time in prison for that than people that are actually out here attempting murder or rape or whatever.
Yeah, like actually like violating other people's personal space, like taking over their bodies. That's so different than having an exchange of money for illegal goods, in my mind.
Yeah, government needs to get out of all the shit because they screw up everything. And we as a society need to decide, you know what, we're going to let you dictate our tax money anymore. We're going to do it our damn selves. And I encourage, and everybody should have like some mental health, huge mental health facility built about every 5 counties, and then do it nice and strategic, and be, don't just sling people in there because you don't like them. But people out there that claim they're a pink damn elephant maybe need some help. Those people might need to seek some help.
Yeah,
but we've let them out on the streets, and then they wind up in our prison systems, and then they're flying through the walls and acting like crazy nut jobs to only get even more radicalized in prison.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, I'm shut up. You keep going. Keep reading your stuff. See, I told you I'd go off on this tangent about these. I've been watching these damn woke people on freaking TikTok, and I'm telling you, need to take a bottle of wine and Xanax before you watch that shit. It's
well, I mean, it's totally mind-blowing because as somebody, like, I always do, I root for everyone to get better. I mean, I can't say that I spend that much time worrying about what happens to people who sexually assault people. Like, I don't really feel bad for what happens to them in jail or spend much time worrying about their rehabilitation. But deep down, like what I really would want just for everybody to just stop being sick in the head and start respecting everyone's personal space and just living their own lives happily. If in a perfect world, that's what I would love. And then as somebody who works with dogs who are sometimes start off quite aggressive whenever I meet them, I understand that, like, even something that seems deeply ingrained and aggressive can change with the right nutrition, with the right guidance, with, if there's enough help there. But we don't have that luxury in our world that we can rehabilitate every single person. So the fact that the people who are doing just the most atrocious things are the ones who are they're not getting any punishment. They're getting things, they're just getting what we're talking about right now. They're the ones who are just going to thrive because they're given a place where they can live the way they want, just a lawless, do whatever you want to whoever's confined with you sort of jail society. It's so messed up that's what we're focused on.
Raptor Ready said catch and release. You're right. Catch and release. That's happens a lot more than it should. Again, I think that's why we got to start electing these people into office. We got to get your kids out there running for office. I mean, get your nephews. You take your old ass out there and do it. You don't think you can do a good job? Look around you. You can't screw it up no more than the people we've had in there for 40 years. I'm serious. Like I'm like sitting here. I'm telling you, I would prefer the guy that sits there and runs the local damn restaurant that has flipped burgers for 40 years to figure out what needs to happen in our prison systems than the people that pay people off to ruin lives. I mean, it is that we have a very upside down and ass backwards, judicial system again, where you can get 25 years in jail for having a bag of drugs on you, but you can go brutalize a woman. And several women. Well, there's just a case right now. I think it was where's it at, California or something? Andy tweeted about it, where a guy has repeatedly been charged with sexually stalking a woman. I mean, it was a pretty in your face case, and they let him go. And they said because he's got mental issues. That's justice for all the well-being of justice. We're going to let him go. And tell me how you're going to have a Me Too movement, and then months later you're going to do some shit like that because they don't give a damn. And people have the memory of piss ants.
Yeah, and then think about what happens to the people who are failed by this system, who then get raped because the people who are claiming that they're protecting them and are taking our tax money, saying that they're protecting us. Like, what happens to those innocent people that are moderately innocent, maybe,
Well,
or
if
innocent.
Democrats had their way, you wouldn't even have your dams. You wouldn't even have your firearm to protect you. So, at least right
Yeah.
now, again, the biggest deterrent for a woman to walk around this country safely is to get herself a little 22 or something and make sure she has that with her. That's the best thing. You're not going to find any woman, and God don't get me started on this. Men and or women are equal, and women can do as much as men, and all that. But I can do a whole damn show on that shit. Where these self-entitled women are walking around acting like their shit don't stink, and then they can't figure out why they can't get married as they bash men to death. I mean, don't even get me started. But like women, you arm yourself up. That is your best deterrence against a full-grown man trying to do some bullshit to you. And
Yeah.
but again, if Dems had their way, it would be MS-13 would be armed. Thanks Obama and Biden for your Fast and Furious shit. And then all the law-abiding Americans would be, sitting at their homes, meagerly off in the corner, hoping that nobody like that showed up to their homes. Spare me.
Yep. Then all of society, all of it, just across the board, everyone's going to be suffering from PTSD just because the world really is traumatizing for everybody all the time. and then our brains don't work anymore. Then we can't help each other. We can't get healthy.
Yeah, God help us if some shit really went down in this country right now, and say you stuck all the 40-year-old pluses in a room somewhere, and locked the door, and we were left in society with all these 20 to 30-year-olds to defend us. Like, what are they going to do? Whip out their Starbucks straw and bitch because it's plastic and not paper? My God, just give it to them. Because if we have to rely on the people right now in Portland or damn California, they're going to hug them away. That's what's going to happen. Well, we'll just give you a hug. I can't even, don't even, like that. That's the problem today is that we've created a generation of a bunch of wusses. They don't know their ass from a hole in the ground, and don't know what a damn that means to fight for your freedom. This country was handed to them free, so therefore they don't know what comes behind that flag. They want to hate the flag. That freaking video I saw going around of that dumbass woman, 40-something-year-old woman, 30-something-year-old, whatever she was, I don't give a shit, riding her bicycle through that neighborhood, had that little boy that was probably 3 or 4 years old on that little bike next to her, and he stops to get off his bicycle, to lean over off his bicycle, to reach over in somebody else's yard to yank up an American flag and throw it back down. That woman should be in jail. And yet the TikTok world would praise her, teaching that little 3-year-old, 4-year-old boy that he should shit on the American flag or disrespect the American flag. They have no idea what was fought to ensure that we could fly it. These self-entitled brats. I'm sorry, we're getting to hollow. See, I told you. You can tell, guys, what I watch in a day or two, because you're damn going to sure bet I'm going to come in here and talk about it, even if we're not even bringing up the freaking subject. So I apologize, Casey. That's just part of my personality. And some people love it. Other people want me to shut the hell up. And I get it. But it just freaking infuriates me.
Well, that's exactly why I find myself constantly limiting the time that I spend not that I don't pay attention to what's going on in the world, but I just cannot be emotionally invested in too much throughout the day, because the types of dogs that I work with will eat me alive if I'm constantly stressed out about other things. Even as I was reading this earlier today, this stuff, the most frustrating part about this was I was sort of surprised to read this, but then I also wasn't. I was reading this and I'm like, of course I'm reading this, and then just get more and more frustrated. Then I have to bring myself down again, because it's just you can see all the problems, and you want to support the people who have the solutions, but the people who are saying that they have the solutions just want to take your money and then do whatever with it and not solve anything. And it just kind of gets you in a really rough spot. And thank goodness there's movements now where people are paying attention and kind of doing what they can, because otherwise I'd be ranting all day.
Yeah, again, see, that's my, because guys, I stick my head into so many different categories throughout the week and the day. I mean, it's not just what you see here on the screen when I come on air. I mean, like today, I spent a couple hours with Kimon, the guy from South Africa. I brought him here a couple times. And like, that's why I'm going to utilize what I can to the best of my ability with the relationships I've established by bringing all these people from 4 different continents together. Because again, I think it's so important we stress that this is a world problem, not a country problem. And everybody always talks about America as being like the shiny beacon on the hill. And as an American, I couldn't be prouder to hear that. But the truth of the reality is that, we need everyone. We need everyone to come together and be proud of the country that they live in and to fight for their own freedoms so they can be proud to raise their children where they are. Not just here in America, but everywhere. And that's going to rely on all of us pushing back, doing what we can, standing up, speaking out. It is. It's going to rely on all of us. So we can't rely on Trump or DeSantis or Cotton or whoever. Pick your politician. I don't care. It's not, honestly, it's not going to come down to them, guys. It's not. It's going to be up to us. And that's been our history. It's always come down to us. Look back. It's been us this whole time. So, that's, see, here I go again, but listen, back to the prison system. The problem is like, I'm telling you, girl, like some of the videos I've seen come South Africa, thousands of people standing in line right now for a piece of damn bread. And, and it's like, we throw more food away in this country than we don't know what to do with. And it's like, you're not going to sit here and tell me we don't have we have all these huge, massive cargo planes. What's going on in Cuba right now? It's them starving to death. We have these massive cargo planes spending billions of damn dollars on whether or not a cockroach can keep up with a pissant on a treadmill, taxpayer dollars going to shit like that. But we can't fuel up a couple cargo planes and fly some shit down there to feed some people. Spare me. Oh, how about this? Well, I don't know. You ever heard of a greenhouse or a Miracle Grow? You can't take that shit to South Africa and plant some corn and soy, or not soy. We know what soy does. Fuck soy. Green beans and squash and zucchini and shit like that. And give them some seeds, not Monsanto seeds. Thank you, non-GMO. And I'll be like, here you go. Feed yourself. And I don't know what to tell you. Freaking Israel can figure out how to grow shit on desert. You tell me you can't do it in other places? But see, that's why you can tell. Again, shut up, Laura. Back to the damn prison system.
Well, in my opinion, everything goes back to the food we eat, really, because we go crazy by having all kinds of nutrient deficiencies and poisons. So in my mind, that actually was right on spot.
Yeah. There's no reason why anybody in this freaking country should be freaking starving. There's no reason in this world that anyone should be starving.
And there's no reason like why we overeat so much. Like some people overeat so much and yet still are so nutritionally deficient because our food is so shitty, like our soil. We just haven't taken care of our country well in a lot of areas.
All part of the plan, girl. It's not because we're not taking care. It's because that was their agenda. Yeah. You dumb your people down, you keep them, you get them to stop moving, you get them to stop going outside. But that's where the shit always backfires in their face. And this is where I'll circle this back around to the prison system. The same way that they gave us the internet thinking our dumb asses are going to sit back here and get fat with their Fritos and, play video games and watch kitten videos. Then all of a sudden a bunch of people got together and said, you know what, our media really sucks ass. Why don't we all get together and start putting out the truth? And then you had COVID, which was another thing to try and, to push down the population, destroy an economy. What happened? All these people started figuring out the truth for themselves because they had more time at home to watch said videos telling them the truth. So then you go back to the prison system where you have all this money being shoveled out of these prison programs that don't do a damn thing to help these prisoners to better their lives, to give them a head start when they get out. You're going to waste millions and millions and millions of dollars on posters and council members and people that sit around and talk at a table when you could easily build a whole nother wing to the damn prison, call it a workshop, whatever you want to do, teach these people how to get, a certain trade. So when they go back out, they don't have to go back to the streets and do the same thing they were doing. They actually can go out there and get a decent damn job. But no, no, no. We need to teach about fisting and dildos in school. That's the important thing. That's what we need to be spending our money on is, transgender story hour. Spare me. We don't need a month for veterans. We need a month for pride.
And they're, even in this, they're acknowledging, if you go through what I have here, I'm not going to read all of it, but it talks very specifically about the problems that prison rape causes, like how it is a drain on society. And then through this document, it also talks about how, a good portion of it is the prison guards sexually assaulting prisoners, but they're the ones who are in charge of reporting the incidents. So are they going to? No. But another little, let me see if I can. So all of this whole concept, whenever I started, I still have a lot of unanswered questions, like too many. So I tried narrowing down like some of the questions that I had and just decided to pick one jail to kind of see how those PREA laws have affected them since the law started in 2003. So I went and found Allegheny County Jail's 2020 annual PREA report. And not much of it is very surprising. There's a bunch of like numbers that usually whenever I see reports or statistics on anything from the government, I'm just like, yep, those are numbers. Like they mean nothing to me because who is in charge of them? But this stood out to me. We recognize that rates of sexual violence increase during states of emergency. Even in the midst of a pandemic, priority was given to ensure that appropriate responses and action steps continued. After incident reviews are still being conducted on all incidents at the jail. They are particularly important in cases where sexual abuse is alleged to determine if corrective action is needed. But right before that, they say, with COVID-19, many of our PREA Center programs and evaluations were rescheduled or canceled. So it's like they weren't even doing it. Trauma and prevention-based group classes for male and female inmates were halted in March. And I get that everybody needs to pretend that COVID affects everything and you need to stop ensuring that people don't get raped because of the flu. It's just,
what? We recognize the rate of sexual violence increased during states of emergency. What? We recognize the rates of sexual violence increased during states of emergency. You talking about the prison or the fact that now you have these domestic people? Now, we're happening more out here in the general population because you got people now stuck in their house with their abusive other half. In the midst of pandemic, priority was given to ensure the appropriate responses and action steps continue. Oh, see, that's a bunch of word salad. That sounds good written in a report.
Yeah. And then there's like a number salad down here too that had like all of their statistics that.
Oh, go over those ball means, girl. You do what you gotta do. I will follow your lead, but you know I'm gonna throw in my damn, just whatever. English checking in, whatever. What's up, England? Don't call them British, folks. Do not call them British.
Oh, hi, everybody.
Assaulting females. Oh, yeah. What's her name? The cops in that county are cops said, listen, there are good cops. There are bad cops. I have no doubt that there's jailers that do stuff for payout. Oh, yeah. But you know what? The same people that tell you that there needs to be a change are the same people that are damn will never fire that one person because they're their buddy. That's what needs to be stamped out is the good old boy, that system. The same system that's being used right now and the people that write these reports. People should be able to turn in and report a shitty cop, just like a shitty jailer, just like a shitty attorney, just like a shitty judge. And instead of being worried about having their own life smeared and ruined or whatever, they should those people that are committing the crime should be held accountable. But instead we have a society that will expose the whistleblower and try to ruin their life. Up Nate Kane, if you don't know what I'm talking about. The FBI harassed that dude to death. But go ahead. Or Snowden.
And all this, they'll talk about how they'll protect prisoners, but whenever they say that, but there's also no punishment for the prisoners that are hurting other prisoners. Besides, they'll submit an incident report And then after that, if it turns into something, then sure, they'll get punished. But I know from every job that I've had in my life, an incident report, it just means very little. But
Yeah, and the what's her name says that the cops in that county are dirty. Cops enjoy assaulting females, and it says in Allegheny. I think that's who you
Al-
have. Did I say
Allegheny.
that wrong? Allegheny. See,
Mhm.
Allegheny. Allegheny. Trust me, I'm not great with the words, but yeah, read though. Go ahead.
Oh, sure. Well, so this is just for like the statistics for 2020. Inmate non-consensual acts, 1 substantiated, 5 unsubstantiated, 1 unfounded, 7 total. And it just, well, it makes me wonder, like, who's determining whether it's like substantiated, unsubstantiated, like who is the person specifically that's doing that analysis? And if it's not these committees of PREA law people, or there's another group that comes in and like helps too, I guess. But if they're not able to be there and oversee things, they are just relying on the guards that they are saying in their own law description are likely to also be doing the raping.
Yeah,
So,
look at the right there at the very last one. Staff sexual harassment substantiated 0, unsubstantiated 2, unfounded 7. And what were those 7 over here in the substantiated or unsubstantiated column? They didn't even put them over there. And so you mean out of 9, none of them were legitimate? Please.
yeah, there's just no way of knowing. And the sexual staff on inmate sexual misconduct, just 0 across the board. The staff
Kathy HT said, "You can't break the law when you are the law." Amen to that for sure.
Right. And then they try to make you feel better about it by showing you that. And then like the previous year, there was a whole lot more of everything. So what they're trying to say is like, oh, look, we're doing so much better now that we hung up these posters saying that rape is bad. Because I can't figure out what else they're doing besides hanging up posters. Some places they said they install TVs that have infographics that play for them all day, which is like nothing. But I don't know. I don't really know how one gets involved with this sort of thing to help do something locally, but this has been really eye-opening to me, just reading about in my area what's going on as far as this goes. I'm not going to go into all these numbers because it all just means nothing to me, but if anybody is interested, you can just look it up, the PREA laws in your area, and hopefully they would let you know. Oh yeah, that was the other one. For this area, Pittsburgh Action Against Rape is the other organization that advocates for not raping, which is kind of just be cool if we all just didn't do that. But
yeah, you think? Well, I mean, again, I think that people that commit sexual assault or people that try to beat you up all the way to murder you, they should probably face higher penalties in prison than someone trying to sell you a bag of weed. That's just my belief on it. But again, if you really want to be infuriated, just look at the sentencing. Look at the sentencing of what happens when people, especially in certain states, when you commit a crime against a fellow human being, and it's substantiated. There's actual evidence. I mean, there's no doubt you did it, right? And look at how much time they get versus how much time someone else gets that didn't commit a crime on another person. It's mind blowing. And then look at how they treat certain now it's become down to political beliefs. If you're on the left and you're Antifa or Black Lives Matter, rioting, burning down federal buildings, breaking into Capitol buildings, breaking into federal buildings, hitting police officers or National Guardsmen over the head with rocks or hammers or whatever else, then you, by all means, we will bail you out. You will not face not one charge. But if it happened on the 6th of January, then no, we're going to hold you incarcerated for 6 months, not even charge you half of you with more than a misdemeanor. And, you have 0 rights. If that's not political harassment and targeting, that I don't know what is. Like it again, signs of what happens over the last 3 years or what Antifa been and Black Lives Matter are now backing them up, and these cities that happened at federal buildings versus what happened on the January 6th is eye opening. I mean, it is in your face.
Yeah.
Oh, little Mo from Western Australia, I could use to talk to somebody from Australia. For sure. I need to, I've been looking for somebody in Australia for a minute. I'm trying to talk to everybody on all kinds of different continents because I do think that people need to, want to put out my, little Mo, if you have time, email me there and I'll check my email after this show or tomorrow. And because I like, even like what's going on with Australia, I have no clue really because I don't believe the media. I'd rather, although I will say like 60 Minutes Australia does some pretty decent stories, and that Sky News Australia has been calling out some of the bullshit. Sorry, don't mean to get off topic, but when I saw Australia, I was like, whoo, help me. Because I got people tomorrow, Australia coming from Ireland and South Africa and the UK and here in America. So wouldn't mind throwing Australia into that mix. But yeah, that's the issue. That's where the government screws everything up. I think we should go in the exact reverse of what the left calls for, socialism and giving all the money to the government. I think that we should pay the government even less money. I believe that if we're going to have a president that threatens us with their own military that we pay for, then hey, each individual state can form its own military to protect its own people in that damn state. And if somebody comes after the country, then we can talk about who's going to throw in their chips. Because if it's anything what Bush called for on some 20-year war, no, Tennessee, we're just going to stay out of that one. We're not going to send our people over there to fight for oil fields and poppy fields. You can have that, DC. Yeah, but I think that we just, I mean, again, because every state should be opening up a mental health facility. Every state should be in their prison, should be offering these people, help, therapy, to learning a trade, to, if there's a bad apple in the seed, whether it be a jailer or a prisoner that's sexually assaulting other prisoners, then prisoners should be able to go and they call it snitching. I don't give a shit. The snitch word should be thrown in the trash. Other inmates should be able to go tell on that person, and that person should be removed. And you can have a whole wing of a bunch of perverts, and you can stick all them together, and they can pervert away.
Well, yeah, that's so I always think of things from a dog perspective because I work with dogs and I stay in my little world. But whenever I was like managing dog daycares and doing temperament testing and stuff, on a very slow day, whenever we had like more employees and not as many dogs, we could do like deeper evaluations with the dogs that like appear aggressive outwardly, but we're not like sure if they're truly aggressive or if they're just really awkward. Like you can take the time to like work with them and kind of see how they can interact and kind of immerse themselves into the general population of dogs. But if you have a really busy day where no one's on staff or, the staff just really isn't that well skilled because nothing in the dog world is that well regulated either. If you have a dog who comes in and that it does attack other dogs, I'm not going to waste any time trying to get them to be friends with all the other dogs that are just there because their owners are at work, and they're just there to have a good time. I'm not going to just put an aggressive dog with all of those dogs to just ruin all the other dogs' days and potentially temperaments. And I would have a higher level of like, if a dog that I know has bitten or attacked another dog, so much as growls at another dog, I am going to be removing them. I'm not even going to give them a chance. But if it's like a dog that, is just a friendly dog with no aggression history that just winds up at daycare because he needs a place to be while his owners are at work, that dog, if he growls, I'm going to be like, oh, are you uncomfortable? Like, what's going on? I'm going to be kind of looking more outside. And I kind of feel like jails should have that same sort of mindset where if somebody comes in and they've like raped people or abused, physically hurt, and got into somebody's personal space and violated them, I wouldn't just have them on the same scale of disciplinary policies as the January 6th people who were just wandering around outside the Capitol without a gun. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But that's kind of, from what I can understand, from what I researched, that's totally what it is. And it just breaks my brain in half.
Well, again, this is like what's her name? It's not that simple, and I commenting back. I know it's not that simple. I'm not trying to like go into a deep dive into, all the things that have to change. Just giving an overview of how I think the people would do a better job than the government. All the government does is sling our money at stuff, and make it worse.
And it's true. It's really not that simple. That's why we all it'd just be awesome if we all valued holding ourselves accountable for our own actions and felt confident enough to defend ourselves and to recognize whenever we're being put into an area where we could be abused or taken advantage of. Because that's another thing too, is like how many people live in an area where it's just like kind of taboo to own a gun. A lot of the cities I lived in, the only people who had guns are criminals. But the average person doesn't think to defend themselves. I was in that position before where I just didn't have any way of defending myself in an old apartment, and then like people broke in and I couldn't defend myself, and I just didn't think about it until then, like, oh, maybe I should. I don't know. I guess I trusted the world not to be what I'm reading it to be right now. But anyways, we just all need to hold ourselves accountable. Ourselves and others, like standing up for ourselves.
Yeah. Agree.
Oh. So I get a kind of rambling.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be quiet so you can go through your material, because I've talked so much to it. I know you have some stuff pulled, so I want you to be able to get through some of it.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to be able to go through all of this. I just kind of brought it up for anybody else who just wasn't aware of this, and maybe they know better than I do how to do something about it, I guess, if they feel so driven to, because it's really not a simple thing. Right now, all I can do is like rant about it, I guess, in the moment. But so one thing that I will go through, just because I am overwhelmed by this amount of information, just punishment in general is something that we have a million different definitions for. Like, to some people, even according to the dictionary, there's many different types or definitions of punishment, in the sense that some people think that it's it's you're violently getting revenge, or like an eye for an eye sort of thing, where punishment is like an emotional, like, yeah, let's get them sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the more like kind of emotionally detached, like applied behavior science kind of definition, where punishment means that you've ended a behavior. It doesn't really matter if it's unpleasant or pleasant. It's just that you it's just that you ended the rape or whatever it is in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And excuse me, my throat got a little dry there. Let me take a drink of water.
Yeah. So, what is it? Let me read this comment right here. Ellie Mae Slayer said, I was a correctional officer, and that's not how it's, the inmates are rated according. I mean, that's not how it is. The inmates are rated according to their charges. I don't think that's what they're trying to say. Is the inmates may be rated to their charges, but they also stick all kinds of people with all kinds of different charges on this in the same cell block. Like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe that would work if they actually keep, like, say someone committed rape and they were kept with all the rapists, but that's not how it is. Somebody could commit arson and be in the same cell block as somebody that commits rape, or same thing with the murder, some with Grand Theft Auto. Is that, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I think that's the point, is like, they're intermingling different criminals, and so that can lead to, again, listen, I'm of the mindset that I don't understand why prisons seem to have smart TVs, or you had the video leaked a couple of years ago of the inmates that have cell phones in the prison with them, and they're pissed off because they can't get their Wi-Fi to work. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing with that in prison anyway?
Oh, really? But I'm in over my head, I guess. I don't even see, I'm just going by what I've read today. I don't know exactly how everything's set up. So if it's really not true, like if there is like a rated system in which they're using that effectively, and I'm just making up this like totally lawless society or almost lawless society that's going on, I guess that's good to know.
They're rated according to their actions and history. Yeah, but what I'm saying, Ellie, is what does that do though? Ellie's saying they are rated according to their actions and their history and convictions. I know that they may be rated, but I'm trying to correlate this to what the point you're making. I don't know what you mean by that. They may have a rating system when they come in according to their actions and their history and convictions, but they're all kept and housed on the same like block, correct or no?
And if so they could still get raped.
Yeah, I will say that. Like I have a few family members in dinner, but I would believe a child molester rapist should be castrated. Yeah, I agree. When an inmate comes through into the system, they are each individual given right. But what does that do? What does that do? Prevent them from being. What we're talking about is like her point is like people being raped inside of prisons, and then the prison system dumping a bunch of money to curtail that and to try and stop that. And all the money that was blown on it hasn't done anything to prevent it. So I don't know what you're saying.
Is this person saying that like the rating system means that they keep the likely rapists away from the like January 6th people when they come in? Because it sounds like a lot of the rapes that happen are like within the first 24 to 48 hours of a new person being in there. So is this person that you're talking about saying that they're always separated or protected, or just that there's a rating?
I'm going to read you. I was a correction officer, and that is not how it is. The inmates are rated according to their charges. So you heard me say what I had said earlier. It says, she said, hang on. Then it was just that, no, they don't. So I don't know what that was to. They are rated according to their actions and their history and convictions. I get all that. I understand it. I don't know what you're saying in response to how that, when the inmate comes to the system, they are each individual giving a rating. Got that. Individuals are placed in pods based on their convictions and action. Yeah, but not in all states. She said individuals are placed based on their convictions and actions. I don't know what state you're referring to, but some states don't have that elaborate. They don't have multiple prisons littered all throughout the states that can house each individual person based on their convictions into different pods. I mean, shit, you can watch what is that freaking show that came out that was where they were intentionally putting people in prison so they could follow their lives or whatever. I mean, you have people that are convicted of burglary or armed robbery in the same cells with people that are facing charges for murder.
So
when they first come in the system, they're all in segregation for how long? Where do you live?
They're all in segregation. So does that?
They're in a holding cell, right? When they first get processed, usually convicts are put into a holding facility until they are processed, and then they're put in general population.
And so general population means they have different together,
pods, right? Like A block, B block, C block, whatever, right? And so the inmates will be assigned to that block. But there's not like murder block. There's not like armed robbery block. There's not like rapist block. That's why I'm trying to figure out where this person lives. What state do you live in?
Yeah, that I don't understand as well.
Yeah, see, it depends on what state the person did. It depends on how the prison system is structured. Like I'll just give you what was his name? The guy that was from Texas. The same guy that was from Texas. Then remember when he created the tent, he did all that shit because he put all the prisoners in pink boxers and stuck them out all in tents and canopies. Well, every state wasn't doing that. He ran his prison differently than any other state had done before. He got a lot of flack for it. Personally, I think it was a pretty damn good way to run that shit. But that's just my opinion. Yes, there is. You'll have to send it. Listen, down below in the comments or whatever, or I'll put out my email. Whatever you're talking about, feel free to send me the information on. I will gladly. Me and Casey will gladly go over what you're talking about. How these different people are kept in different wings, but based on their. Again, the conviction. No, gmail.com. There you go. That's the email. So feel free to send that. Thanks for being here. Just thanks, Thong Chaser. What a name,
Thong Chaser.
But but I personally know a man that went to jail for a murder in Tennessee. He was not put on a block with just all murderers. He was put in there with all kinds of people that committed all kinds of crimes. You want to know the prison that was only Tennessee? Only.
Yeah, if there's anything that I say on here that I'm like absolutely wrong about, I do want to be corrected because
that's why I read the comments. That's why I put out the email address. I'll gladly, positive basic one example, one pot is less. Yeah, I get it. But the whole point of this though is what we're trying to figure out what you were pushing back against is we don't know how that ties into. Are you saying there's not a rape problem in prison?
Or is it, were they talking about, because I did say, like, whenever I brought up the dog example, like I said that, like, if I have a dog that I know is aggressive, I'm going to handle it differently and not give as much leeway as a dog who's never had a history of aggression. Are they just saying that, like, the punishment that happens after they do something?
Yeah, Arapaho, thank you.
Or they're saying that it just prevents the rape.
I don't know. You got to keep kind of go through your stuff. I don't have time to like have a back and forth with this person. I send them the email. You can feel free to send me whatever you want to send me that pushes back. But I gave you an example of just one person I know that was kept involved with several different kind of types of criminals. Again, I gave you the city it was in. So I don't know. And that's in the state of Tennessee.
Yeah.
And that's somebody I went to school with.
I am curious about that. I hope that person emails you just because this has brought up a lot of questions that I wouldn't mind having answered because they're just like floating around in my head now.
But, really just violent. Yeah, really violent crimes and non-violent crimes. Yeah, totally agree with that. That's what they were saying about non-violent crimes and violent crimes. But what she's talking about is the rape epidemic in prison. So I'm not. Maybe it did tie back to something that we said. I don't know. Moving on. Keep going. We spent about 10 minutes on this one. About this one combo. Well, I'll get it. If they send anything, I'll share it.
Yeah. Okay. So whenever I was doing all of my research on this, like one thing that's always important to me whenever I have conversations with people, especially I guess on the internet, is like defining the words that we're talking about. Because whenever I say punishment, it could mean something very different than what somebody else says. And, you know what? I didn't bring it up right now, but let me, as somebody who works with dogs, I do tend to take on, let me see here. Wait, can I open this?
Just in closing, Ellie said, just sent you an email, I'll send more. Hard to type. Oh, for sure. So for sure. Thanks for that. And I'll definitely check it.
Yeah.
After. Yeah, I'll share it with Casey. We have a room we share together. I'll drop it in there. We definitely will go over it for sure.
Let me see.
Georgia prisons, and Sassy and D-Life said Georgia prison policy fails to meet what their policies state. Sassy says guards rape the inmates in Georgia, does not implement its program that it claims it will. There are federal guidelines on that. Georgia prisons are structured on profits. Prison corporations contract with PPPs with government, and those contracts states promise a percentage of prisoners guaranteed unconstitutional. See, I think it's a lot of stuff different in different states. I think, you have corruption everywhere. GS says most prisons are run on private profits. They run on mass pop kickbacks to politicians, in my opinion, from some things. This might be something where I need to figure out Telegram and get all y'all's asses in Telegram to take phone calls. We might have to do this show again. Let me get in here. Don't think y'all can post. I am so bad with Telegram. Telegram, you can figure out a way to take calls. And so I started a thing for 5x5 in Telegram. You can't type in there, but I know that I can take calls in there. And listen, I promise everyone, I will work on figuring out the damn Telegram thing, and add users, and try to figure out, because I don't want a ton of people in there like posting things. That's not what it's for. It's to be able to share a link. It's be able to like take calls and stuff. Copy, share link. Okay, invite. I think I did that right. But Telegram can be a kind of a pain. I ain't gonna lie. We get to share stuff and things like that. But I'm going to do this. I just got the link for my Telegram. So, guys, any of you in there? There's the Telegram thing and DLive. And you go ahead, Casey. I'm going to share this. And if you guys can get in there, maybe me and Casey can start doing that, because I'm all about, and I'm sure she is as well, all about taking, making sure that we're on the up and up with this information, certain information. And if you guys have experience in the prison system, who better to hear it from?
Yeah.
We are not know-it-alls. We do not know everything. We learn on a lot of this stuff as well. So we will gladly listen to people that have experienced it and can get in here and talk about it. So here it is. There's that. All right. So go ahead, Casey. I'm gonna post it here as well. Why ain't it taking it? No screw. Okay, there we go. So that's that. You should be able to get in there hopefully, and then tomorrow I will figure it out. Maybe me and you, Casey, next Monday. By then, all of you that want to join, by next Monday, maybe we can do this again. If you guys will promise to come back with us, maybe I'll have something on standby we can cover as well, in case they don't show up. And we can kind of hit this topic again, and then we can kind of, give these people a chance to come in here and tell us about the prison system. That'd be cool. What do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely love that, because that's supposedly what's supposed to be keeping our society safe. Keeping it progressing. So I love that.
For sure. So listen, I'm gonna tell y'all right now. Sassy was in there giving good info. Gina Knight, get your butt in there. Short Bus Mooner, which I love that name. And then
that is a great name.
Yeah, right. I know, right. And then Ellie Mayslayer. Anybody? If I missed anybody, please. There's some judges on the jail. Tim M. I posted it in there. What's your name? Yep, get your butt in there too. So all y'all that know, have this topic on your mind. I promise me and Casey next Monday we'll bring this back up again. I will figure out how to get y'all to call in Telegram, because I know Zoom can be a pain for some folks, and it's a lot, takes a lot of pull on your computer, and you can do Telegram just even on your cell phones, I believe. So we should be able to do that, and I will try to figure out a way to facilitate that. Okay, so Casey, you keep going. We'll spend a little bit extra time here. And guys, I posted that Telegram. So there's the link. Get your butts in there. And we want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Casey. Go. Oh, he cute. You can get in there too. He cute. He's an OG. Thanks for the dime, but it is hard. He's so sweet. But yeah, okay. So go ahead, Miss Ma'am. We've had all kinds of stuff, good people coming here, but apparently they got a lot of knowledge on this.
Oh, man, I can't wait till I figure out how to divide my attention between like what we're doing and looking at the chat, because I absolutely love interacting with people, but I just don't know how to do it while also focusing on what we're doing. So those are skills I don't have practiced yet, but one day soon.
just so you know, just look at my screen. This is what I do to see my chat, folks. I'm going to steal this from you real quick so you can see, and then you can definitely have it back. I'm just going to say, screw it, share my whole screen. This is what my screen looks like right now. This is where I have my Telegram pulled up so I could share that link This is the Telegram, by the way, guys. You won't be able to post in here, but there is a way for you to call, see voice chats, and I can't do it now because I don't have it set up. So whoever's in there. But then this is my Foxhole. Oh shoot! See, my whole window just shut down. I don't even know what I did. This is my YouTube, and yeah, there's my D Live, folks. See, there's Cuteness, here's your Foxhole, and here's my YouTube, folks. So I have these littered around everywhere, so I can try and keep up with everybody. And then see, so when I'm sharing my screen, y'all, that's why I can't see that. Like Casey, when you're sharing your screen, you just can't see your rooms. There's my Telegram. So yeah. So it's all good, girl. It takes a while to get used to. You got to kind of try and watch, and I like interacting. What makes us different than mainstream media is did you get on Telegram, Sassy? You can do it. I promise it's easy. If I can do it, Sassy, you can do it. Okay, I promise. It's set up for call. Yeah, I know, but I have to stream it through. I have to fix it through my Zoom, Tim. It's not as easy as people think this stuff is easy. No, you have to rig it up through, because I'm in Zoom, try to take Zoom calls, Telegram calls in Zoom. So I have to actually do some stuff to make it work. But okay, Casey, take the screen back, show your thing. We're going to keep moving on. We already over an hour. You probably ain't even got through, half of what you wanted to talk about.
Oh, well, luckily we'll have time to talk about it if we don't get it all tonight. But yeah. So just the definition of punishment. So we're like on the same page. I tend to, just by my own conditioning from the work that I do, like the definition of punishment that I usually am thinking whenever I say the word punishment is a consequence that happens after a behavior that serves to reduce the likelihood of that behavior happening again in the future. And I brought up this website just because it gives the example. It's not a punisher, could be something that is really, really unpleasant and harsh and, sometimes even torturous. But whenever I think of punishment, it's just like whatever ends the behavior, the bad behavior. But this is great for whenever it comes to like training an animal or educating a child. But whenever it comes to rape in prison, you kind of have to have a different view of punishment, I think, a little bit, because if you're getting raped in prison, you're probably not thinking like, oh, what can I do to make sure that this person is never going to rape again? No, you have to think like, nope, this needs to stop now. Like, I just need to do as much as I can to ensure that like whatever's happening to me right now stops, and I'm going to get away. Like, you're just getting out of the situation. But I think that this is what most people think of whenever they think of punishment, is the infliction of some kind of pain or loss upon a person for a misdeed. Whereas I tend to think of punishment as just like feedback, like, oh, that was the wrong behavior. We can't be doing that again. So let's do something else. So yeah. I may get confused sometimes whenever we talk, because I get the definition of punishment mixed up depending on who I'm talking to, just because how my brain's conditioned. But I found this pretty cool. Like, this Britannica.com, whenever I was just searching punishment definitions, I thought that this was a really interesting rundown. I don't know if we'd be able to read it all, but it goes through like just punishment in general, the theories behind it, retribution, and then just the different types in society. So let me try to remember which part stuck out to me the most as I go through this. Yeah. Oh yeah, this was actually it. In some pre-modern societies, punishment was largely vindictive or retributive, and its prosecution was left to the individuals wronged or to their families. In quantity and quality, such punishment bore no special relation to the character or gravity of the offense. Gradually, there arose the idea of proportionate punishment, such as was reflected in the Bible or the biblical dictum, an eye for an eye. Eventually, punishment by individuals came under the control of the community. Later, with the development of codes of law, the state took over the punitive function for the maintenance of public order. Under such a system, the state is viewed as the entity wronged by the crime, and the exaction of punishment by individuals acting on their own behalf, as in the cases of lynching, is illegal. Now, like I said before, if in my dream world, everybody's just healthy and rehabilitated and nobody wants to rape anybody. But whenever it comes to somebody actually hurting me and doing something to my body against my will, I want to be able to defend myself. And I think that we're kind of moving into a society where all forms of punishment are seen as bad because a lot of people are like this now, where we do just want everyone to be smiling and happy and okay all the time. And there's lots of new programs out, even the applied behavior website I had up, where really just like punishment isn't on the table for anything. And that spreads through like the dog training world, the parenting world, teachers, schools, where punishment is kind of a taboo word to say. You know, like you don't punish, you redirect. Does that, you know what I mean? You see that trend kind of nowadays?
Yeah, so, and let me just say that really quick because Tim's out here. Tim, I know I have Telegram set up to take calls, but I have to link it through Zoom, and I'm not going to do that while we're like live on air and have never tested it before, especially now that we're like past our showtime and Casey has things she's actually brought to cover. I'm going to try and do this because so many people brought up talking about the prison system, but like I have to kind of follow through the show we'd already brought to do tonight. But I am going to try and figure it out. It's not as easily as just like bringing it up and y'all jumping in there and taking calls, because I have to make sure that it'll work through Zoom first. But that's it. Go ahead, Casey. Sorry. I just wanted to address that. I didn't want to type all that out. Go ahead, hon.
Oh, no, you're fine. To be honest, this was like an overwhelming amount of research to do, so I might be a little scattered at this moment, but I thought it was worth bringing up just the concept of punishment in general, because as somebody who works with dogs and children, I hear people say a lot like, oh, I've punished him for this and he still does it, or like, oh, we don't punish, we do something else. And a lot of times people who think that they've punished something really did nothing except like they yelled or they threw something, or they did something that got a little bit of anger out of their system, but they didn't really stop any bad behaviors. So they're still going to have to like repeat the yelling or throwing or slamming your fists on the table sort of thing. And we don't really look well at what is effective punishment. And so I just was going to read this part here, not necessarily things that I know well about. I just thought this was interesting. So, effectiveness of punishment. There is a considerable controversy over the effectiveness of punishment in reducing crime. For example, most researchers have failed to find any systemic relationship between crime rates and imprisonment rates. It is equally probable for regions with high imprisonment rates to have high or low crime rates, while increases or decreases in rates of imprisonment are equally likely to be followed by increases or decreases in crime, and so on. Thus, the three strikes legislation passed in many U.S. states in the 1990s, which imposed mandatory prison sentences after 3 convictions, was found to have no effect on crime rates. Even the death penalty, as noted above, appears to do little to reduce murder rates, since most jurisdictions that use it, including several U.S. states and various other countries, have substantially higher murder rates than jurisdictions that do not. Among Western industrialized countries, the United States has the highest murder rate and is virtually alone in using the death penalty. The state of Texas accounts for a very high proportion of all executions within the country, roughly half in the early years of the 21st century, yet has continued to experience relatively high rates of murder and violent crime. In general, criminologists believe that severe punishments are not particularly effective in reducing high crime rates. I do So I feel that this is something like another thing where it sounds really like profound, but how do you even know that you're doing any of these things well? Let me get this out of the way. For instance, like the death penalty, I don't know exactly how it's like, what the requirements are in each state, like how it's done in every state. But I bet if the penalty for raping in prison is you just die the second you're caught raping, I bet it would go down. You know, as opposed to, well, let's write an incident report. Let's go through this, this, and this. If you actually catch someone in the act and someone's able to do something about it, I don't know. I feel like that's just a totally different thing than the way they're kind of describing it here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, it's a complicated, topic. Things can be. Some things are so in depth that, I get it. Trust me, you have room for, trying to figure out how to explain it. It's okay. Yeah.
That's why I almost hesitate like to go through this, even though I find it so interesting, just because there are so many ways to think about it. Because we as a society, we try to analyze everything, and that's good in a way, because data, like numbers, facts, can be really helpful. But as soon as you're like stepping back and looking at things, you're just assuming, you have to assume that people are actually doing the things that they say they're doing, and that they're doing it correctly. And then you have to assume that that's the reason it didn't work. And I guess that's just another unanswered question I have, like, how do we resolve that issue? And the only thing I can think of is what you said earlier, is if we just kind of focus on, like, be aware of what's going on in the world, but use your actions locally. Like, everybody pay attention to and participate in what's going on in your state or in your county. Like, because once we get to the point where we're looking at this, like where we're doing data for like the whole United States and how punishment is working, it's so fascinating. But is there really like profound information that we can use to create new laws for the whole country or the world? Because some people want the whole world to all be doing the same thing. It's just a weird slope we're going down.
Yeah, it's that's why I'm trying to stay quiet now, is because every time like I hear a point, let me say this to you. Miss Schwartz said, Nature Ninja, I feel your pain regarding chat. I love hearing your point of view. Sounds like what my wife would say if she would take the red pill. Well, she would take a red pill. Go. And then Capable said, the rules in prison and whom the group of people you are with hardens you. Takes time and a lot of love when you get out. Thank God for love. And about the flooding in Germany and people are dead. I heard a lot are dead. I don't know. Germany, it's like, listen, guys, this is what I'm trying to do, like even for tomorrow with bringing together Grand and Daddy and then SB and trying to reach out to that woman that just posted from Australia. I would love to have people that live in different countries, in Germany included, that would come together and come out and talk about what's happening in their country, because you just can't trust the media anywhere. But no, unfortunately, I know it's pretty rough over there right now. A lot of people have been dealing with a lot of crazy weather. And, I lean on the side of heart because I studied it about 20 years ago with all this chaos and stuff going on. So sorry, that's the answer for Capable. But yeah, so Casey, because I see all this trickle down effect of what it's doing in society, with this revolving door in prisons, with this constant slinging money at situations, but never really fixing the problem. Never, like I think it was Elsie posted in chat about how even the prisoners themselves have a lot of good ideas, but God forbid we would never listen to those, idiots. I'm putting up quotation marks. You can't hear me, or she can't see it. But God forbid you ever listen to like a prisoner that might actually not have to fear retaliation, not have to fear being belittled or whatever for, trying to help a prison system. But I have no doubt they would have good ideas about how to work, how things could work a lot more safely and fluidly in a prison. I mean, who better to ask than the people living it? all you got to do sometimes is just give them the opportunity to give you some good ideas. But yeah, it's unfortunate because I think that a lot of people in prisons are overlooked and and stigmatized, and it's I don't know.
Well, yeah,
I can't imagine. Go ahead.
we can value the opinion. Like if we were more community based, locally, like focusing on our own states, like then we can include everyone's perspective instead of doing what we tend to do, where we get, here are my quotes, like professionals, experts who went to school. They may not have ever done anything in their lives practically involving their schoolwork. It's all theory, no practical application, but they're the experts. They're the ones who make the laws. They're the ones who dictate what happens to everybody who's truly affected and who has to live it every single day. So if we do pay attention more to our community and just learn to value each other, even if it's not somebody who went to this college, if it's somebody who worked their whole lives, they know how their life works. They know how things are going. So we can kind of come up with more realistic solutions. One of the things that blew my mind whenever I started training dogs professionally is that there's animal behaviorists out there who will charge like $300 to $400, not even meet your dog. You send them an email, like you fill out their questionnaire, and they'll give you a behavioral evaluation with suggestions for behavior management, and sometimes even suggestions for behavioral medications to put the dog on. And they've never met the dog. They've never interacted, they haven't been in the person's house and see how the dog lives there. But people will pay hundreds of dollars to these people because they're experts. They have all the schooling. Whereas a dog trainer who may not even have any certifications could have worked with thousands of dogs in their lives, had their hands on the dogs. They've actually helped a dog get past a fearful stage and built their confidence to the point that dog doesn't want to be aggressive anymore. But our society values the degree.
They're doing the same damn thing to kids. I mean, we can talk about dog, but they're doing the same thing to kids. They pump these kids with that. I mean, I'm telling you, when I got my stepson, when I was married, he was 8 years old. He was on 2 ADD medications and on them sleeping pills. He was 8. I was floored. Mind you, as soon as we got him, within 6 months, he wasn't taking anything and never has since then. And, it wasn't that he was, climbing the walls. I couldn't believe this kid was on this much medication. He was taken off of it. He was allowed to go run around and play outside with his friend. And he never had more energy than any other, 8, 9-year-old boy. I mean, I just was floored that a doctor had put him on that much shit. He was on some heavy stuff too. It shocked the shit out of me.
Yeah, we numb people down because we don't have time to deal with the nuances of being alive in this world. We just have to go. And if our kids are interrupting us from what we need to do, or our dogs are interrupting us with what we need to do, and it's too much to make a nutritional change, to give them good outlets for their energy, teach them how to build their skills so they can grow to be confident and productive members of society. We're just like, nah, you're getting in the way of what I'm doing right now. So here's a bunch of drugs that we can load you up with.
And by the way, Tracy asked, yes, it's Nature Ninja. She said, I haven't been here very long. Is that Nature Ninja? That is Nature Ninja.
Oh, yeah, it's me.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's a society. I would agree with you 100% that we're putting a bunch of children and people in all kinds of situations where it's just easier to drug people down and not have to worry about the consequences until, nobody's having to deal with them, right? We don't have a society full of a bunch of people that have telling everybody else how to live and what to do. And we wouldn't even trust them to babysit our cat, but right. That's just what happens. If you're society doesn't want to deal with them. So it must be mental problems. Where it must be, has nothing to do with that of, somebody that spoiled them rotten and they have ever had to work for a damn thing in their life. And now, you accidentally, touch their arm with the Starbucks cup and they act like you sliced into a vein.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The amount of things that children like can be traumatized by now, because that's just how we act. Like we don't get what we want immediately and we panic, and then the kids see us doing that, so they're just like, oh, life is hard. Like it's such a weird mindset.
Capable said, with the SC decision in 2013 and vax now changing your DNA so your transhuman dogs may have more rights than us. I'm sorry, giggle. Sometimes we forget to laugh. I'm going to look up this gorgeous damn thing while you're looking at that. But yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of got to that point anyways, where dogs, because humans don't value human life as much as we used to either. Like, I absolutely love dogs and I love animals so much, but like, I love people too. I mean, we all can be a bunch of assholes, I guess, but whatever. So can everything else. Our society like doesn't really much value like humans, I don't feel like, as much. We still medicate our dogs as much as our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I'm saying that based on how many people just choose to get dogs instead of like, or not like they make the active choice to invest in animals, which again, I'm all for like people saving animals' lives and stuff. It's just it's interesting how little some people care about children in comparison. It's just a weird thing for our survival as a species.
Mm-hmm. Would agree completely. People care more about somebody punting a dog across the room than somebody abusing a child. I completely agree.
Well, or like people not even punting a dog across the room, but like in some places it's like, as we've talked about before, it is illegal to like train a dog to be off leash, like using an invisible fence to keep them contained in the yard, or because it's seen as abusive. So we really can't, I don't know. So I kind of got off into a dream world there thinking about that.
Okay. We all do it. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I get off on these tangents. I'm sorry. I'm trying to look at the tan. But yeah, please continue. Yep. It's an issue for sure. But we just again have racist society of people that prey, I don't know, cater to victims, and then we wonder why we have a victim-filled society. That I mean, it just it infuriates me. I wonder why we got a bunch of messed up kids in the world. I don't know how medicated are they?
Yeah, medicated without proper nutrition. They probably don't always know who their parents are or who's going to help them get through the world.
Mm-hmm. It's bad for sure. But it rests on some parents' heads to get more actively involved in their children's life and not rely on the government to raise them.
Yep. And that is the one blessing of what's going on nowadays. More and more people kind of just seeing, like, there's no not seeing it to a certain extent anymore. At least I don't think so. Because now you can't avoid, like I've mentioned before on the show, like I hated the media. Like whenever I was in high school, I took TV production classes, and I thought that I wanted to do camera work for like a news show, like out in the field. I thought that'd be so cool to like have the camera and just be out there. And then I started learning about TV production and then learning how to make a news show. I was like, oh, it's just all pretend. Nothing's real. Half of the class is learning how to spin a story. It's like don't even get to focus on the technical stuff that much anymore. Just spin. So I just, like, for the longest time wanted nothing to do with the news. I was mad at the government. I was mad at everything because I'm just like, it's all bullshit. Nothing you hear even means anything. You might as well just ignore it all and focus on, in my case, dogs. Like, might as well just ignore it. But obviously I couldn't, because it's just everywhere. You can't live a life separate from the government anymore, no matter how hard you try.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about before we wrap this up really quick? I am gonna cover, by the way, capable show some pictures of what's happening in Germany right now. I have brought up some of the latest images because honestly, I'm not even paid much attention to what's going on with Germany with all the other stuff I've had going on. But Casey, if there's anything else you wanted to talk about, and again, we could talk about this again next Monday. And
yeah, please, you can talk about something else, because I did kind of, I thought I had a point to what I had to say here, but it's more just like, look at this.
It's okay. I listen. I do it all the time. Meyer, you did a great job. I mean, yeah, you gave raised some really good points, and we've had a good conversation about it. I'm gonna show you what this I was asked in chat about, and what's led me. If you can tell, I'm a little distracted the last few minutes because I've been trying to find some information on it. Okay, I'm gonna. Is there anything you wanted to close up with before? And we'll hopefully touch back on this on Monday before I talk about Germany a little bit before we end.
Did you say that it was Mick Schwartz in chat that said hi to me?
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Mick Schwartz.
And Tracy S is actually asked if that was you.
Oh, hi, Tracy S.
There you go. Yeah.
That's all. Go on.
Okay, I'm gonna take this share from you real quick. And okay, let me share. Yes. Okay. Cable asked me what's going on with Germany. So this is what I could find. Again, guys, this is on the fly, so forgive me. I like to try to be a little bit more prepared, but it says survivors call flooding in Germany worst thing that's ever happened to me as the death toll rises. A woman looking for flood damage in Germany. Survivors are speaking out, recalling the harrowing scenes that unfolded in Germany after severe flooding devastated several areas of the country, killing more than 180 people. According to Reuters, the storm in West Germany, which began Wednesday, marks one of the worst rainfalls and floods in that country seen in nearly 6 decades. At least 188 people in Germany, spanning across states and countries, including Rhineland, Palatinate. I'm sorry, I'm probably saying this is how I am, Casey. North Rhine-Westphalia and Belgium were killed by the extreme weather so far. More bodies are expected to be discovered as debris-littered waters recede, the outlet reported. Those who were lucky enough to escape the flood say the terrifying ordeal was unlike anything they've ever experienced. Paul and Madeleine Browser were at home with their 2 sons in Belgium's town of Pepinster. Told the Associated Press the water came all of a sudden late in the evening. Did a dam break? It was like a tsunami, Paul 42 recalled the outlet, noting that his family retreated upstairs to safety, but evidently had to watch from their roof. So did a dam break? Demolishing house in Edinburgh Wall. As the water continued to rise, the family made their way from the rooftop to the rooftop. Along with 15 other people found on the roof would stay. We started to see buildings collapse. And then that rush of like being a tsunami sounds like either it was a tsunami or it was a damn dam broke. So the one survived the traumatic incident. Sorry again, guys, I'm doing this on the fly. Spoke to outlet said devastating damage. It took so much time to build a restaurant. Heartbroken mentor, everything's slow. Courthouses bar. Okay, this is kind of in the wake of the incident. Officials have pledged to assist displaced residents. German Township about to send financial aid to the areas devastated by the storm. It's terrifying, she told residents. The German language can barely describe the devastation. One flood isn't the example of climate change, but if we look at the loss of events in recent years, decades, simply more frequent. Please. Photographer dies after being swept away by flood waters. There's huge damage, and that much is clear. I don't really understand. What the hell? Okay. I'll play you one. Like, okay, there's really no pictures here. I see this down here. One day ago, 16 there ago. We'll see what this one is. Southern Germany hit by flash flood as death toll rises. So the number I can get out there capable is that looked like it was at maybe almost 200 now. Well, they got some floods, Lord. That's what I'm telling people, man.
Well,
It works me. The Lord is speaking.
the prayer list just gets longer and longer.
Yeah, if I was God, I'd be kind of pissed off, dude. People in this country defended their preparation for flooding in the face of public discontent. Their preparations, or you mean the lack of preparations? German officials defended their lack of preparations. Germany, Austria, the Netherlands, and Belgium have all been affected. They didn't have no damn plan. What is this? Katrina 2.0? Okay, so I had this I said this pulled up. German officials defended their actions ahead of last week's severe floods that caught many towns by surprise and killed 196 people. They conceded that more lessons can be learned. As floodwaters receded Monday, authorities continued to search for more victims, intensifying their efforts to clean up a sodden swath of West Germany, Belgium, and Netherlands. So far, 170 people have been confirmed dead in the worst affected German regions. So, yeah, I mean, wow. See, this is where I say almost 200 dead, many still missing after flood in Germany counts devastating cost. Immediate rescue. The damage to infrastructure is not hampered immediate rescue efforts, but also threatens to leave the affected regions. Oh, please. It was a difficult. Sorry, I'm talking about that video right there. That stuff just pisses me off. Watch German rescue workers dig through debris after deadly. All right, just try again, guys. I'm just trying to hurry up and give you something because Cable asked me about it, and I really don't know much. Yeah, this is rough. That's horrible. Look at that. Jeez.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man. Get right with God. I'm just telling you.
I'm so
Right.
grateful I've never had to deal with a flood. That looks awful.
It's sad, yeah. So, yeah, so pray for the folks in Germany because, there's a lot of places in this country. If you look around, what's going on, yeah, again, floods happen. And people have to remember that there's so much infrastructure now, and people that have smartphones. Everybody's a walking, citizen journalist and stuff like that. That it's going to be reported on more widely now. That's the thing that too people will say, "Oh, it's the worst flood in 70 years," and then you look back and one's happened about every 70 years. Do I know that's what's happened in this case? No, I do not. I don't know enough about the situation, but I do notice like they'll say the same thing about climate change where, oh, it's getting hotter. And then we'll go through, an ice age, or then we'll go through some warming. And then they'll talk about the glaciers. Well, if you do any digging into the glaciers, they've always receded and came back and receded and came back. But how the media will spin it to you as a fear porn. Oh, the world's ending. You're like, no, it's just the cycle of the planet. But, again, it does not mean for 1 second that I do not feel for the people that are facing this right here. I just saw this, facing all this right here right now. I mean, this is sad.
Yeah.
Again, Lord works in the, you pray for these people. Where's it at? Did I hurry up and get past it? This Russian water. You have all these people trying to clean up and sweep up and.
Just thinking of like all the mold damage that comes after the fact too.
Yeah, you got to make sure you dry that stuff out for sure. You just, just be there. That's why I was like, oh, that shows you the strength of it. Well, I mean, telling you, the people think they have a lot of power, and then God will show you that you ain't got shit. You give a good course of running water like that. Look what water has done. Milled up all your bombs and your IDs and all that shit. And God says, "Let there be water."
Right.
You know what? Try. You think of any piece of equipment that we have that could do this kind of stuff right here, besides a damn dropping a massive bomb on something. This was done by water. There's old Markle. But it just shows you to me the great strength again of God and what He can do, and He can show you how minuscule you are. So you better know who your Father is, in my mind. And I don't mean to get all, don't want to get all preachy on folks tonight because that's not the topic of the discussion. We'll probably hit something like that on Thursday. But yeah. So again, guys, too, if you're around up tomorrow at 4, I'm going to try and do something. I hate walking on 412. He's somebody I try to kind of stay away from, but they all know sometimes I don't have any option. I'm working with 4 different time zones. so I'm trying to make it work with everybody and still do it. So
I don't think 412 will mind at all.
yeah, he does. He never says anything. But tomorrow at 4 Eastern, I'm going to try and have all those guys on. Gran Torino Daddy and KB from South Africa, and then breaking. Says there is a congressional record approving geoengineering passing Congress over it. Oh yeah, they were talking about that shit in the 90s. They admitted to it in Vietnam, how it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. It was cloud seeding. Thanks, Patty. And shout out to everybody that gave us lemons, He Cute and Home and Patty S over in D Live. And then I don't know how 412 brings up there. Oh, there it is. And thanks, Thong Chaser.
Thong Chaser.
And Foxhole. Again, the guys said the link tree. I'll place that before we go. I am trying to get everybody to at least. I put one of my dad's videos on my link tree on my second channel. I mean, not on my link tree, on my second channel. I'm going to try and build it up, and if I can, I would contemplate moving the whole thing over there and try and monetize that channel, because it has hurt this channel because we are smaller pretty hard when YouTube did that to us. And that's the whole reason why I'm trying to get people to go over there and sub, is because if I have the ability to switch it over there, and then I don't care what anybody says to me, I would try and follow the, dystopian rules with YouTube and just shut it down whenever somebody wants to talk about something, a little bit more dicey. And then that at least that supported the channel without me having to beg everybody for donations all the time. But in that link is the backup channel, and you'll see my dad's video on there. I'll probably drop another one this week too. I've just been kind of really busy and learning a lot of stuff about what's going on in South Africa and the like. So with that, I think Casey, me and you will be back on Thursday.
Yes. We'll be talking about unconditional love.
We gonna talk about love. It's a wonderful thing unless you're abstain. And then or Weinstein. It's where other names rhyme. Talking about love and not the Weinstein kind. I'll make a whole song about that shit. Hell to the no. But all right, well, we are going to get out of here. We bid y'all adieu. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us tonight. Hopefully we're getting better at this and you're enjoying it and figuring out we're here. It's all word of mouth, guys. Sharing the link is how we grow. Nobody, these platforms don't help you a damn bit. And so, yeah, it's all because of you guys that we grow the size that we have. So appreciate all the support. And Casey, I think you always hear me have breaking do stuff or daddy do stuff. You can say our goodbye.
Oh, goodbye, everybody. Thanks for listening. One day I'll have a very coherent thought put together for all of you.
So funny. Okay, I need you to just do one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to try to do it this way as best as you can. I want you to say, bye.
Bye.